Tanya about the levush for the soul. We're talking about how there's clothing for the soul, and that's the misvot. The misvot are the clothing for the soul. Based on the levush of the soul, we'll be able to know how many misvot and what kind of spiritual life a person had. So he says that the clothing of a person shows who he is. Based on uniform, you know what kind of job a guy has, right? And based on what kind of clothing, you know how much honor to give him. You know, people usually judge by the cover. The cover is the clothing usually. And he quotes Likutei Yesod from Rabbi Natan over here, Rabbi Nachman, that the person has to be very careful to take care of his clothing. He says, Ki danim et ha'adam ma'anashim oto. A person doesn't take care of his clothing, a person gets judged for that, gets punished for that. Who do we see in Tanakh got punished for disgracing clothing? David HaMelech. David HaMelech, right, he cut the corner of Shaul HaMelech's garment in the cave. Shaul HaMelech went to the cave to go to use the bathroom. And David HaMelech, he was hiding there also, and he cut his robe to show him, like, look, I could have killed you and I didn't, so therefore make peace with me. But since he cut his clothing and he ruined it, he got punished for that. How did he get punished? He got punished that afterwards he would wear clothing, he would wear blankets, he would never be warm. He was always cold. So the clothing didn't work for him anymore. So you see, he got punished for this, that he disgraced his clothing. So therefore a person has to be careful to take care of his clothing. Sometimes a person comes home, he throws his jacket wherever, his hat wherever, right? He throws his clothing on the floor, they get dirty, or they get ripped, they get ruined. He says the person has to honor them, respect them, take care of them. And, the levush physically will affect Hans Shalom, the levush spiritually also, because they're connected. So therefore they say how you do something is how you do everything. So a person has to take care of his clothing and not be ungrateful. He has to be grateful for the clothing you have, not take it for granted.
You hang them on the chair is probably.
No, hanging them on the chair is better than throwing them on the floor. So people leave their stuff on the floor, right?
It's no good.
Right, and he says that the person has to know even how to dress. There's a certain way, right? Putting on the shoes, right, and then tie left, then tie right, right. When you come out of the mikveh, you have to go and you start from the head and you get dressed down. Obviously, you could put undergarments first, but then afterwards you should put shirt, then you should put pants, then you put the kippah. There's an order of how to get dressed even, right? And he says that, for example, also the Gemara Masechet Zvachim says about the Kohanim, their clothing was very important. Each piece of clothing was mechaper for a different averah, right? And the clothing is mechaper, give kapara like the korbanot. So you see that the person's clothing is very, very important. So also we know that the very religious people, they dress a certain way, right? It's proper that a person should come to shul dressed with a button down, with dress pants, not to come in joggers and in a regular t-shirt, you know, and or sweatpants, sharavari. It's tapochki, slides. It's not appropriate to come to the Master Universe. How do you come dressed to go and speak to the Master Universe? How do you go? You get dressed for a job interview. How do you get dressed when you put your kids in yeshiva? You go in joggers and slides and a t-shirt. Who cares if it says Balmain on it or not? Who cares if it says Gucci on it or not? The point is, it's not formal. You have to come somewhat, business casual at least to meet the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And it's not your prayer doesn't count. It's just how do you come to greet the king? It's a person has to think. It makes sense and it's appropriate to come meet a distinguished person. How much more so Kadosh Baruch Hu, at least wearing a button down. And therefore, a person has to know that the way you dress is the way you get influenced also. A person dressed more formal, he takes his life more seriously, right? For example, if someone asked me one time, Rabbi, you're always in a suit and a tie. Why are you always in a suit and a tie? Everywhere. I see you shopping. I see you with your kids playing in the park. Always in a suit and a tie. I told him, like the Secret Service, even if the president's playing golf, what are they wearing? They're wearing a suit and a tie. Why? Because every second they could jump into their job. They're honoring this person by how they dress. So every second I'm serving Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is my uniform for to serve Hashem. 24/7 I'm serving Hashem. So therefore a person has to realize your clothing influence you. You see this white shirt, black pants or hats that they wear in the yeshiva. All these things are to help them realize their job and to make them put the spirituality first. Person can be taking care of his clothing, but don't be too much into the clothing. The clothing is also supposed to remind you of the spirituality, not only for it to be gashmiut. It says the Tanya. And therefore, when a person does all the deeds of mitzvot, like tefillin, and prayer, and sisit, all these things, and also, through speech, you can access all the mitzvot. A person can think, how can I go and fulfill all the mitzvot of the Torah? There's some mitzvot that don't apply to me. I can't do all the mitzvot every day. So he says, by this, that you study the Torah, you study about the mitzvot, it's also considered like you did it. He says, right, for example, he's busy with Masechet Brachot, laws of blessings, laws of prayers, right? Busy with Basar B'Chalab, meat and milk. He's busy with all these mitzvot through learning. So now through your speech, you're absorbing and you're getting from these mitzvot. And he says, Umachshava. And then there's also through thoughts. There's levels in thoughts, meaning there's understanding the Torah in Pshat, Remez, then there's Drash, then there's Sod, right? So therefore, through your thoughts also, you're able to go and attach yourself and get the levush of the mitzvot onto your soul. So there's deed, there's speech, and there's thought. So a person has to know that you should, the more attached in thought you are to the Torah. Imagine you're going in a train now. You're driving in a car to go to work. What do people do? Some people, they talk on the phone with their relatives, let's say. Shmoozy, nothing, about nothing, right? Or some people, they can be part of a shiur. They could put in a shiur. They could put a Dvar Torah, or they could go and bring a book if they're on the train. They're sitting in the train. They could read the Gemara, and they could learn something on the way. That way, you're always connected. The more you're connected, the more of clothing, better of a clothing you put for your soul, and your soul will be in a higher place. A person can there's a famous story I told you about the yeshiva boy. He counted how many minutes does it take if I'm the last one in the Netilat Yadayim line. There's a huge line in Netilat Yadayim every day in the morning in the yeshiva for breakfast. He said, I'm tired of waiting in the line doing nothing. I'll learn. I'll see how long it takes the last guy to get to the line to get to the beginning, and then after those minutes, then I'll come. There'll probably be no line anymore. So every day he counted. He said 8 minutes. There's 8 minutes till the line is over. So what I'll do, I'll go to sit, learn Mishnah Berurah, and I'll wait for the line to be over. And every day he did this. In all these years of yeshiva, maybe 3-4 years he was in yeshiva, he did this. He finished all Mishnah Berurah. All Mishnah Berurah from 8 minutes. A Seder every day, 8 minutes. He finished entire Mishnah Berurah. Imagine every day, anyways you're driving to work. Every day you're going anyways to the train to go to the work. Imagine you would sit and read Gemara a little bit, half a page, 5 lines. Every single day, back and forth. How many Gemarot you would finish? Rav Avadia Alav Shalom, they write a story about him that he made siyum on Shas from the Gemaras he used to learn when he was waiting for Kiddush. He used to come home, always it's not ready, the meal, right? Always, we have to bring this, we have this, wait 5 minutes, right? So you used to open Gemara, used to study while waiting for Kiddush at home on Shabbat, for it to be ready. And from those few minutes that every day he waited, every Shabbat he waited, he finished Shas. From this, they wait a few minutes. The power of a few minutes that we throw away in the garbage. The guy said, what's the difference between me and you? One guy didn't become tzaddik, he became tzaddik. He says, the difference between me and you is 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, I became big tzaddik. Why? Because every time I had 5 minutes, I grabbed it, you threw it away. In 5 minutes, I became tzaddik. From 5 minutes. Yeah? So therefore, a person has to make sure not to disgrace even 5 minutes. And that way he's more connected in his mind, machshava, always to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, and through the 613 limbs in a person's body, they're all connected to the 613 mitzvot. Each limb in the body corresponds to a different mitzvah. They famously say that the Rav Chaim Kievsky, Alav Shalom, he used to tell people who were sick. He says, you're sick in this, so learn this part of the Torah. This will heal you. Why? He says, let's say a guy had pain in the leg. So he told him to learn Ketzad HaRegel. I learned the second chapter of Masechet Baba Kama. It talks about the leg, when the animal, right? One of the 4 avot of Nizikin, the 4 damagers is leg. One of them is leg, Regel, right? So then what happened? So then he goes and he told him to go study the chapter about Regel, about the leg. So this, you learn the Torah about the leg, will heal your leg. The guy had a kidney stone, he told him to learn Even Ezer. Go learn the supporting stone, the laws of marriage. The other guy, every single person, he told, study this, you'll be able to heal yourself that way. Why? Because there's a Torah that corresponds to each of the limbs. And if you fix this spiritually, physically it'll also be fixed. So therefore he says, the person has to realize that all these things are very connected through the deed, through the speech, and through the thought. Now, how will a person know how to fix? How will he be able to actually acquire and absorb all these things through speech, through action, through thought? He says, "B'pratud b'chinat chokhmah bina da'at שנפשו מלובשת בהשגת התורה שהוא משיג בפרדס כפי יכולת השגתו." He says that a person learns pshat, a person learns drash, a person learns remez, a person learns sod. Through this, that he studies properly, this will give him the proper chokhmah bina and da'at. He'll get the proper wisdom, the proper delving in, the proper bina, which is going into a deep. When you learn pshat, it's simple. You just learn pshat. It's simple level, not too much thought. But you learn a lot. You learn a lot of different simple things. But then you take each thing, you learn the drash, you learn the expounding, you learn Gemara, what they learned from this pasuk. A person can learn all the pasukim of the Torah, but then you have to learn the drash. You have to learn what they learned from these pasukim. And then you can learn even deeper level of thought. Sod is much harder. You have to learn even deeper, secret parts of the Torah. But the point is that all these things, that according to how you study, you'll be able to fix your chokhmah bina da'at, and then you'll be able to have, through this chokhmah bina da'at, be able to get the proper levush for your soul, the proper attachment to the mitzvot. So therefore he says that the shoresh nafsho lemala, person has to know that there's a neshama of shoresh neshama lemala. What's shoresh neshama? Your root soul. Every person has to know each person comes from a different root soul. There's a mashal, there's a huge tree, and different souls come from different parts of the tree. That's why some souls connect together, some souls they don't go together, they don't understand each other. And the bigger tzaddikim, they come from the trunk of the tree, because they're called tzaddik yisod olam. They're the foundation. They support all the other souls, meaning there's greater. The bigger the tzaddik, the more people he can connect to, different types of flavors of people. So since he's from the trunk of the tree, so he supports all the branches. But the point is that everyone has a root soul, and even when you're in this world, you have a soul here, but a major part of your soul is over there, also in Shamayim. So therefore, you have to constantly get that connection. And Chas V'Shalom, if you do some averot, you'll be cut off from your root soul, and therefore the person Chas V'Shalom has to die. And that's called karet. What is karet? Karet is cut off. What do you mean cut off? We're all here like a puppet that has a string attached. We're all like connected to our root soul above. And if you sever that connection because you did such a sin that breaks your spirituality, you sever that connection. It's karet. Your soul gets cut off. And then you cannot exist, and a person passes away between the age of 50 to 60. Right, Chas V'Shalom. But the point is that through this, you'll also be able to go and get the root soul, you connect to your root soul in the Mala. He says that through this, that a person works on having connection to the mitzvot and getting his levush properly. Now he says, V'amidot, שהן יראה ואהבה וענפי ותולדותיהם מלובשות בקיום מצוות מעשה בדיבור של תלמוד תורה שנכנגד כולן. How do we fix our midot? You know what really is supposed to fix our midot? Our midot, that is our fear of God, our love of God, and all the subcategories of that. They're all dressed and they're all melubash, enveloped in the mitzvot. Imagine a person does tzedakah. What does tzedakah make you think about? Doing chesed, being merciful, thinking about other people. So when you do a lot of tzedakah, you teach yourself to be a person who does chesed, who thinks about another person. Now, when in a different situation, when it's not tzedakah, when it's not money, when it's giving time, or when it's helping someone lift a box, or holding a door open for somebody, so you train yourself to think about somebody else. That's how all the different mitzvot, they're supposed to teach you something, and they're supposed to make you a better person. So the mitzvah is important to do itself, but dressed inside the mitzvah is a lesson, is a midah that you're supposed to acquire. And he says that's why is Talmud Torah Keneged Kulan? Why is learning Torah the greatest mitzvah? Because from learning Torah, you learn and acquire the most. If a mitzvah is supposed to teach you a lesson, which mitzvah teaches the most lessons? Learning Torah. So that's why Torah is higher than all other mitzvot, because you grow the most and you change the most from learning Torah. So if a person wants to do a mitzvah, it's going to change him. It's going to make him more spiritual. Torah will do that. How much more so? And that, even though Torah is not necessarily an act, Torah, okay, you sit and you learn, but it involves all three things. It involves the speech. Not all mitzvot have speech. Not all mitzvot have thought. A person has to at least have kavanah to do the mitzvah. But the Torah, you need all three. You need thought, you need to be paying attention, you need to have speech, you need to say the words out loud, and you need to study. So if a person would ask you, What is the mitzvah I should invest in? I have one mitzvah I should invest in. Be Torah. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen.